Sam Neill, Apples Never Fall is based on a novel. How familiar were you with the book before the show?
I hadn't read this book. I think I've read most of Leanne Moriarty's books and I always enjoy them. I hadn't read this one, and then it popped up out of the blue, and I I was at the edge of my seat until the end,
Hmm.
as everyone has been in this watching the series as well.
Hmm. So, what, did you know, like you were just like, I have to play Stan?
Look, none of these things. It never occurs to me that I should be playing any part at all, and the idea of um, this alpha male that's extraordinary at tennis and things seemed like one hurdle too many for me. And I was a little reluctant at the beginning, but uh, I, I, I was persuaded and persuaded myself, and I'm very glad that I did it. And obviously, there were things there that were extremely attractive to me. The fact that Annette was doing it was an extraordinary magnet unto itself, and uh, and that it was Leanne and all that sort of thing. The story, um, more than anything, I think. But Annette would be right up there.
Well, I'm glad you did it too, because it was a great performance, and Stan is such a compelling character. Like, there's all these layers to him. Like you said, he's this alpha male, and he's a prone to anger, and obviously he's a major suspect in the disappearance of Joy. But there's there's also this like humanity to him, and like you kind of sympathize with him too, and then you see like his side of the story later on in the show. So how did you approach the character, and also did you also have all the scripts before you started shooting, so you knew how the show ended and like what actually happened to Joy?
Well, I think I it doesn't occur to Stan that he might be a suspect in anything at all, and
Mhm.
and it's baffling to him. It does rather complicate things that he tells porkies to his children that he keeps insisting that she's still around. But I think there's a certain amount of self-delusion to Stan, as there is to most of us. Um, Look, I thought to play him from a position of absolute innocence, and sometimes your best intentions, your your can be extremely misinterpreted, and his children aren't very loyal, really, are they?
No,
I
they
mean,
they immediately point the finger at him. I love like at the end when Joy comes back, even she's shocked that the kids turned on him.
that's right. It's terrible. Poor Stan. He's he's um he's so misunderstood. But then again, he has some characteristics that are less than endearing. Uh, uh, he can be a bully. He insists that everybody can be and should be a winner, and life is really. I take a slightly more nuanced view of life myself, I think.
I feel like he means well, and he obviously wants to provide for his family, and that's why he was so angry when Harry left him.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but like he maybe doesn't always make the right choices. Like he held a grudge against his son for 19 years.
Yeah, grudges aren't healthy, are they? They're
Hmm.
best avoided. If you feel the impulse, if you feel one coming on, try to suppress it because it won't do you or anyone else any good in the long run. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a bitter streak in him that his career should have been better, his own career, and those that he's a very good tennis coach,
Mhm.
but things didn't work out to the extent that he produced um, a world champion across. He produced, Harry Haddad is there's no question he's Stan's creation, but Stan wasn't there at the end. He's very, very bitter about that. Very, very angry.
Yeah. Do, do you think he still like did you create like any sort of like backstory for him? Like he like himself was like frustrated, like he never won any Grand Slams, when he was playing. So now and then like none of his kids could were that successful either at tennis. So then it was like Harry was his like one shot and Joy ruined it for him.
All his kids could have been great,
Hmm.
but you know, ultimately let him down. Everybody lets him down. But he expects too much. He expects far too much.
Yeah.
So,
Well, how much research did you do into like tennis families and like tennis dads as coaches? Because I love tennis and there are a lot of parents who are coaches of their children who are professionals.
yeah. My main, we had some great coaches on this too,
Get Sam Stosur coaching you.
we had Sam Stosur. It doesn't get better than that. But also Pat Rafter, who I think Pat did he win the U.S. Open and Wimbledon? Pat was
Mhm.
absolutely and remains and also a great coach. He's
Mhm.
a friend of mine and uh, and lives very close to where we were shooting. So Pat was great to to see and consult. He offered to he offered to play tennis with me on his own court, but I thought, no, I need to I need to stay in one piece to play this part. I need I need to be able to get out in the court on many occasions and look convincing. I don't want to be smashed to pieces by Pat. But Pat's the most generous of men, and he was um, he gave me great insights into all sorts of things. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, how was the actual tennis training then with Sam and how did your game improve? How was it before this?
I would call it grueling,
I mean, it's a grueling sport.
grueling sport, and it's one that I have no particular um, innate gift for. But then that's true of all sports when it comes to me. I'm not, you know, I'm I'm not a jock. I think it's fair to say. um, so I had a lot of help, and it was we all did, Um, Jake Lacey, uh, oh, and Connor as well. They're really naturally sporty, and they would play in the weekends, and I would want to do is put my feet up and and recover.
I guess you
But then
also
I'm
like,
slightly older than them.
yeah. I mean, I guess for Stan, you also kind of have an out because like, you're a little bit older, so you don't have to go all out with, you know,
That's right.
the youngins,
I think
right? I mean,
I
you
think
played
that
a club match, but and you hit the overhead into Higgins' mouth, but
yeah. I think a bit older is putting it mildly. Yeah, quite a bit older. That would be closer to being accurate.
Mhm. Well, who made the decision for Stan to have a one-handed backhand?
Um, yes. Well, I think he's of that age. I think
Mm.
the two-handed backhand is a little
It's
bit.
more modern, yeah.
It's yeah, it's a bit modern for Stan. And um, yeah, I'm not entirely sure if Stan approves of the two-handed backhand.
I feel like he wouldn't, and he probably wanted all of his kids to have a one-hander.
Yeah, it's slightly more graceful.
Hmm. I want to talk about a couple of scenes, like some really intense scenes that you had towards the end of the season. One the big reveal, I think in the fifth episode, that Joy was the one who actually told Harry to fire you. And I love your reaction because like Stan is just like speechless because like he couldn't believe she did that. And when he finally did speak, his voice was like breaking. It's like, how could you? And So how did you approach that scene?
Yeah, that's devastating, isn't it? That this is, what is it now? 20 years or something?
Mhm.
She's been holding on to this thing. And that betrayal, the greatest betrayal of all, is, yeah, what is there to say? It takes your breath away. It takes your breath away. But it takes joy, some courage to admit to that, you know.
Mhm.
And I still don't know if she's right. You know, I don't think she is right personally. But that's really between Joy and Stan.
But
That's
yeah, I mean, I guess you could say she could have done that and copped to it sooner.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you think in that moment he regrets treating Troy this way for, almost 20 years now that he knows the truth?
Look, I think above all, he loves Joy, you know, and he'll probably bear a grudge for the rest of his life about that. But more than anything, uh, he 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 he's not very good at it. He's not very good at a lot of things, and he's not very good domestically, shall we say?
Hmm.
But more than anything, um, he loves Joy, and losing her would be unbearable.
Um, well, what was it like shooting the fight between Stan and Joy, that the one that they capture on the podcast? Like it gets physical. There's trophies being strewn about, and she scratches you. How was it like shooting with Annette? What did you guys talk about beforehand?
Yeah, we talked about that a lot, and it was very well rehearsed, and it had to um, it had to be very carefully thought out so that it could sound and even look like domestic violence, but the very last thing that Stan would do would be to raise a hand against Joy. That was, you know, but 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 it had to look and sound as if that was possible. But of course, it never happened. It never happened.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you hear it, you assume that he struck her, and it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he laid a hand on her.
It's actually the opposite.
Hmm.
So yeah, that took a lot of forethought, and it was very carefully choreographed and thought through. And like everything that Annette and I did together on set, it was weirdly a lot of fun. We enjoyed ourselves.
I mean, it looks fun. It's like, you're playing around, it's fake, so yeah.
Yeah, look, she's just a joy to act with and work with, and yeah, it was. I love going to work every day, and um, and the kids too are terrific, you know. And that, yeah, there's such terrific actors.
You guys have
Uh,
a Delaney text chain going, right? You still have
we
one?
do. We keep in touch, and we make each other laugh. Um, Jake is hilarious. Alison Brie, of course, is one of the funniest people you could ever imagine to work with. She's just she's she's hilarious, and Connor and Essie as well. They're all very funny people, and we sort of immediately formed a funny little family. We hung out on the weekends, and it was, yeah, it it was yeah, it was a great shoot.
Hmm.
We
You
really
guys also
enjoyed
had
it.
to break in the middle because of the SAG strike. So what was it like returning afterwards? And I know I talked to Melanie Marnich, and she said that break was actually helpful for her because she made some tweaks. So returning from the
Mm.
strike, did you approach any material differently? Did you have like newer insight into Stan or anything?
I think no, I think really it was uh, and I think it was sort of yeah, I think it was helpful for Melanie. We'd sort of um there were decisions made about the ending, which I thought there were just little tweaks here and there that made things more interesting, I think. Um, and we were very relieved and very happy to be sort of reunited because it's been such a long time. It was 100 and something days. Uh, so it was great to be back together again. And we just, um, we was, we just fell into the same patterns as before so easily. It was, of course, none of us wanted to stop. It was very inconvenient in many, many ways, but it was great to be back.
Sure. I love the ending, because where we see Stan, tell Joy, the truth basically, or like about his dad, that he didn't want to become his dad and be abusive like him, and that's why he left, because he loved Joy. He didn't want to lose her because he was afraid of what he was gonna do. And then the final shot of the show, it's like it's hopeful for the family and for the two of them. So where do you see Stan and Joy and the whole family going from here? Do you
I don't
think
think it's ever,
Stan has changed for the better after all this?
I'd like to think so.
Mhm.
Uh, I'd like to think so, but I mean, isn't it amazing that people can have these profound secrets? I mean, that's a very, it's curious that he's never really discussed his father and that tortured relationship with his father, and explains so much about Stan that he's never been entirely open about that. Now it opens the possibility of of being real and honest with each other in a way that wasn't before, and I I wonder I wonder how that plays out. I'd be curious to know. Yeah.
Mhm. I think it's a satisfying ending, but obviously, there's like chatters like, will there be a second season? Would you be up for a second season to see where they go from here?
I have no idea what's yet to be told.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to be with all those people again.
It's also convenient for you because they shot in Australia right next door to you in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's not far away. Not far away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to reunite. I don't know what story is left to tell. I don't. It seemed like a limited series to me,
It
but
does, yeah. I like the ending. We could, yeah, leave it there. But well,
yeah.
lastly, speaking of reunions, you broke the internet a couple weeks ago with your double Peaky Blinders reunion with Cillian Murphy. What was that like, and seeing him win the Oscar?
Oh, I was so pleased. Killian's such a terrific actor, and he's a lovely man and humble and you know I, I loved working with Killian, and he really deserved that Oscar. He was terrific in that film, and he worked so hard. Um, no, I was completely thrilled, and then he was here in New Zealand, came down and hung out on the farm for a bit. Um, uh,
You
yeah,
guys had a
so
hat off.
yeah, well, yeah, like I have that's my farming hat,
Hmm.
when
Go.
there's the Oppenheimer hat. I hadn't realized it was the Oppenheimer hat until
Yeah. What if
until
you were actually the inspo for, it's like, I know like in real life it was before before you were around, but that, you know, it's still,
Yeah, I've had this hat for years. And then
yeah.
it turned up in the Oppenheimer film. And
You gave him the win for the hat off, but I mean, you're no slouch yourself with the hat, so
you think I was okay in the hat?
yeah, you look. We can call it a tie, right?
It's a tie. Oh, good. That's, that's a relief. Because it's a nice old hat and I've had it for years, you know.
Hmm. I
And
kind of wanted Stan to have like a hat and apples never fall, you know, like you could wear a visor or a cap when you're playing tennis.
yeah, one of those visor things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not everyone
yeah.
can pull it off, but you could probably pull it off.
One
Yeah.
one of the green plastic ones.
Yeah. Well, Sam, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time. And congratulations again on your show.
Thank you so much. Nice to talk.